Spanos. We're over here in Dubai. I get to go to many incredible places. This is one of the most incredible places. I'd like to thank the organizer of this event for having me. The reason I think I get invited to all these events is because back in 2013, I opened the first live cryptocurrency exchange right next to the New York stock market, 100 feet away. It wasn't that simple to do. I didn't know any better. I think everyone thought it was gaming money or internet money, or they didn't understand what I was doing. So what we had to do is we had to teach everybody what Bitcoin was, because nobody knew what it was. So for everyone who has a new project, you know, you have to teach people for them to actually adopt it and use it and grow with it. So when we were there in 2013, it felt all the forces were against us, because we opened in the pit of in the snake pits of Wall Street, of modern day finance. And they didn't really want us around. They made laws against us and chased many of the industry away. There's a movie, Netflix documentary called Banking on Bitcoin. You should watch it. It shows our plight. I always like to say we're standing on the shoulders of giants, because we are. I came from the Liberty Movement and Libertarian Movement, where we spoke about competing currencies. So there are many countries that have a currency that's pegged to the dollar. Now, they don't control the amount of dollars, but the countries that are affected by the dollar are many, and they don't get to control what happens to the Federal Reserve note that is the dollar. That's Dr. Ron Paul I used to work for. Also, I opened the Blockchain Center in Miami. I knew that, and that's Mayor Suarez back in 2019. Oh, also in 2018, we came over and helped launch the Taba Valley University's center. We trained the professors in New York. You can see them getting their degrees, their certificates, in blockchain. Because the whole thing is education. If you do not use education, people are going to buy the wrong things. And then the whole ecosystem is going to be in trouble. I'd like to thank Dr. Marwan for inviting me over here many years ago. And he's doing very good work. So, if you only understood how difficult it was to push the cryptocurrency agenda in the world, in different places, dozens of countries I've been to. I'm not trying to brag, I'm not trying to impress you, I'm trying to impress upon you what you should also be doing. If you are part of this network, if you believe in digital scarcity, if you believe in competing currencies, if you believe in the transparency of the blockchain, you have to fight for the blockchain. Because big giant companies are going to put their names on something and call it blockchain, and it's not going to be blockchain. And everyone else is going to be buying things, and they're going to lose their money, and then the whole ecosystem is going to go down the tubes in that country. So I get a lot of my strength from stories with my parents, and I like to use those stories to communicate to everybody why they should also be emboldened to push the blockchain forward, as Dr. Marwan was many years ago. So when I was a child, we moved to a new school, and all the kids bullied me, and I would go home always beat up. It felt just like when I opened the first live cryptocurrency exchange on Wall Street. All the different agencies came down and tried to figure out how I was doing something wrong, because they had their incredible financial system that's been fleecing the world for generations. And I don't think they really understood what transparency is going to do to their systems, because now they're all jumping in and they don't have anywhere to hold on to. So when I went to this new school, all the kids bullied me, beat me up every day. And my mother would complain to the principal. And then one day I beat up one of the kids. And then the principal wanted to send me to the school for the slow children. And my mother came to the school and threatened the principal right in front of me. She said, "Oh, I thought they just children playing. Now, my son is at fault when every day he came home beat up, just like we came home beat up from the stock market." So as we walked out, there's a Greek word named tharos. That's courage, fortitude, self-actualization, pushing forward through the limits that you believed, that used to be the limits that you believed existed in your life. You need tharos to push through all the junk that's in front of you, that's blocking you, that you thought had the powers to block you. You need tharos to push through. It's a Greek word. I have a Greek background. And when we were walking out, my mother said, "Don't let anyone take your tharos. Don't let anyone take your tharos." And then when I'd come home, she'd say, "Did anyone take your tharos today?" And then she'd say, "Oh, did you give your tharos to anybody? Have you given it? Have you forgotten that you have your tharos?" It took a lot of tharos to be on Wall Street. And I said, "Mom, I just want them. I want them to like me. I want to be like them. They're not accepting me. Just like they didn't accept us on Wall Street. Exactly how they didn't accept us on Wall Street in the beginning. They made laws against us and all that. I wanted them to accept us. I wanted to show them how wonderful the technology was." And my mother said, "You don't want to become like those children. You were not made, you were not born to be like those children. Those children have to become like you," she said. The legacy financial system is controlled by back smoke-filled rooms, determining the price of eggs and bread. Have you bought bread lately? This year alone. We're not supposed to be like them. We're not supposed to become like them. We're not supposed to kiss their butts. We're supposed to be the innovators. We're supposed to walk with tharos to this inevitable, incredible future that's been given to us through this technology. I need water. The world is a bountiful place. When I was growing up, one person worked. Everybody had everything. In the States, there, now, everyone works, and nobody has anything. I don't understand. Did the world lose 95% of the food since we came off the gold standard? Since Nixon? I don't know. That's another tharos. Oh, I'm going backwards. Well, Dunbar's number is before centralization, we ended up knowing 150 people, interacting with 150 people. My phone has 58,000 people in it. So our brains, throughout evolution, probably not used to interacting with so many people. That's why these apps are coming around. I always talk about stigmergy. Stickmergy is self-organizing of big groups of things, maybe people, organisms, and they self-organize, not by a rule set, but through the pressures of the outside environment, just like DeFi, decentralized finance, pushes us to a certain place to do certain things. And everyone ends up at the same place because that's where the value is. So everyone's afraid of COVID this, COVID that. I think COVID, back with Moses, there were 10 plagues. And when the 10 plagues hit, one after the other, they freed themselves because the Pharaoh was preoccupied. And that opportunity existed for humanity at that moment, all those slaves to get away and build their world. And I think the COVID helped us. I think there are positive and negative things. These are the factories we were taught to live in. Oh, I wrote that. Storing your work in $1 is an abusive relationship. My grandmother gave me a $100 bill one time. She handed it over to me like I could buy a car with it because she made it in the 60s and hid it under her bed with her other money. And she thought it had the value that it had back then, but she gave it to me in the 80s, and it didn't really have much value like that. So I acted like it did. So if time's money, and the Federal Reserve can initiate the printing of more of those dollars, they're actually stealing time from you. So again, it took a lot to push this agenda throughout many countries, and especially my own. Down on Wall Street, on the ground floor, 100 feet from the New York stock market, they brought in, the SEC came to inspect us. They said, oh, you have an exchange. I said, well, I don't charge anything. And he goes, who's clearing the trades? There's trades happening in there. Where are your computers? I said, well, that's mining machines do that. And nodes, they're not ours. It's open source. They didn't understand that. But it was a good answer. They left me alone a little. Then other agencies would come by and ask over and over, try to figure out what was happening there. I said, listen, I even buy the refreshments and the food and pay for the rent and pay for the marketing and teach the reporters what Bitcoin is and what blockchain is and what cryptocurrency is. And I taught all the tourist groups what cryptocurrency, what Bitcoin was that came by. It was an incredible experience for me. So, the legacy financial system is like a beast. It's intertwined in our lives, sapping moments that we should have with our families. So my father said, "Thirio den yinesan, thirio den tros," a beast. He said, a beast you will never become unless you eat beasts. He said, unless you eat beasts, you will not become a beast. You can look at a beast, you can point at a beast, you can explain that's a beast, but unless you eat the beast, you will never become the beast. So that beast is pretty big. There are many projects here that can take a bite of that beast and do the right thing and be transparent and move forward into our inevitable, incredible future. We have this one opportunity in humanity. I think it's at this moment for us to take command. Whoa, wrong button. I can read it for you. Bitcoin. is a financial voice for those who have none. There are billions of people that are going to show up in the marketplace now with their talents that would never be able to show up in their marketplace with their talents before. Like a friend of mine I met many years ago, he would have never been in this marketplace if it wasn't for Bitcoin. I'm not going to say his name. And Bitcoin is the abundance for those who are born in lack. Many people are born in lack because they have believed that there's nothing for them because they can't see past the 3 inches in front of them of how abundant the world really is. They can't see past the filters that have been put upon us through this legacy financial system. All right. So we build a lot of things. We build oracles, which are devices or feeds that trigger financial events on the blockchain. I need a new battery. Oh, this many years ago, we went to Aramco. Yeah, I think a few days ago, there was a news story on the yuan maybe being accepted for oil. And me, I call upon Bitcoin for there to be a Bitcoin oil pair. After we have a Bitcoin oil pair, people are going to understand the value because right now, with the petrodollar, you know, there are financial systems that prop themselves up on the backs of other countries that do not, I mean, maybe those countries believe that they're being supported and being lifted, but the reality is the weight of other nations are on certain connections to the, I don't want to say all this stuff, but I'll say it. I'll say it anyway. I don't care. If there is an oil redeemable token that's created, all the value will stay in the region. A lot of this value is being used in other places in the world. It's not nice. Over here at Kaust University in Saudi, have a big giant computer over there we got to play with. That was in Medina when we opened the blockchain center, the lab at Taba Valley University. I think I gave the dean 1 Bitcoin on his phone back then. But I don't know if he still has that old phone or not. Probably not. It's been many years. Oh, there it is. That happens a lot. Never give your phone back for a discount. You might lose a lot of money. Oh, here's that story, Wall Street Journal. So we need a third pair. If that happens, we should have a third pair. Listen, what's a store of value? Well, that's storing your work or your value across time. You want something that you can put your work and store it in a device. And in the past, we used lithograms from, well, in the States, from the Federal Reserve. They like to say it's a US dollar, but it's not. It's a Federal Reserve note. If you read it, it says Federal Reserve note. So I'm not that embarrassed to talk about it. El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. Legal tender. That means everyone has to accept Bitcoin. They have to by law. And Honduras did something yesterday. And it was in Spanish. I couldn't read it, but someone told me that they've adopted it also, but I have to check. We build all kinds of stuff. We have DEXs, decentralized exchanges. It's a DEX. I mean, you guys probably know that. Built NFT marketplaces. I have this QR code that has my links. If you want, look me up. Thank you. Thank you very much.